Kamusta mga kaibigan? Welcome to Josh Friends, where faith meets friendship and inspiration is always within reach. Ako po si Father Migs Ramirez, and as we step into another year together, I'm so glad you're here with us. For those just joining us, think of this as your spiritual tambayan, a place where we gather to share stories of faith through the amazing collection from JESCOM exclusives, Stories of Faith. Whether you're a long-time listener or this is your first time here, tuloy po kayo. Part na kayo ng barkada namin. Each episode, we invite friends of the Jesuits to share something special from the JESCOM Exclusives library. Readings from our books, song lyrics turned into poetry, and words that might be exactly what your heart needs to hear today. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive into another episode of heartwarming stories and uplifting messages. Are you ready? Let's go!
As an engineer, alam ko yung feeling ng isang system failure. There are times when everything just shuts down at walang choice but to restart or rebuild from scratch. Turns out, nations experience that too. We did 40 years ago. And maybe we're being asked to rebuild again. I'm Tricia Oliveros, and for 11 years, I lived in the world of systems, process control, and structured solutions. Everything had a protocol. Every problem had a logical path to resolution. Pero sa tunay na buhay, hindi naman laging ganyan, di ba? This February marks the 40th anniversary of EDSA People Power. Ito yung moment ng buong bansa literally stood up and said, enough. Batang walang muwang pa lang ako noon. But the ripple effects of the courage of millions of Filipinos back then who faced tanks on EDSA armed only with prayers and rosaries shaped the country I grew up in. Fast forward to 2019, I faced my own system reboot. I walked away from my engineering career. Wala namang malfunction or major crisis, just a deliberate choice to rebuild my life around what mattered more: family, faith, growth. And let me tell you, that required a different kind of courage. The kind na walang applause, walang crowd. The kind na walang applause, walang crowd. Just you and God and the quiet conviction that this is right. Which is why this book we're featuring today hits differently. Courage, available at the JESCOM online shop, is written by Ed Garcia, one of the framers of our 1987 Constitution. He said, "If one had courage, then there is hope. Hope can inevitably follow." Courage is a verb, and the noun is the Filipino. O diba? Courage is a verb. It's not something you feel. It's something you do, even when you're unsure and your hands are shaking. Garcia wrote this book because he saw our country divided. With the rise of fake news, hatred, and political violence, instead of despairing, he challenged us. Practice moral courage. Do the right thing in the right way, kahit takot ka. And here's the thing. Courage doesn't always look like revolutions or constitutions. Sometimes it's quieter than that. This Wednesday is Ash Wednesday, the beginning of Lent, and honestly, the timing feels intentional. We begin Lent with ashes traced on our foreheads and the words, "Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return." It's the ultimate reset. This year's Gospel from the Gospel of Matthew chapter 6 speaks about doing good in secret, praying behind closed doors, giving without announcement. In other words, do good quietly, just you and God and the work. That message resonates deeply with me now. For years, I worked in spaces where success was measurable: metrics, KPIs, deliverables. But when I transitioned to managing our home, supporting our family business, and serving in music ministry, the wins became invisible. Walang performance review, walang quarterly bonus, just faithfulness. And I realized that requires courage too. Not the dramatic kind, the steady kind. In this age and time, social media has trained us to perform our goodness, di ba? But Jesus invites us into something deeper, a hidden life where transformation happens without applause. And that's where real rebuilding begins. I think about Ed Garcia, who worked with Amnesty International, engaged in peace building across continents, and received presidential awards. He could have rested on those accomplishments, but instead, he wrote Courage because he saw young Filipinos losing hope. And he insisted courage can still be chosen in great things or small things. That kind of rebuilding doesn't start on EDSA, it starts in ordinary lives. That's why I also want to recommend Sacred Space, the daily prayer guide also available at Josh. Because if courage is something we practice, we need rhythms that sustain it. Sacred Space offers a short daily gospel reflection. Walang pressure, walang guilt, just a simple way of noticing God in the everyday. And courage, most of the time, looks like everyday faithfulness. It looks like standing up in a meeting when something unethical is happening, choosing not to share fake news even when it confirms your bias, apologizing when pride wants to win, staying committed to your marriage, your ministry, your children's formation, even when you don't see immediate results, or showing up to pray on a Tuesday evening when you don't feel like it. Those are the ashes on your forehead moments, the quiet rebuild. Garcia writes about Richie Fernando, the Jesuit seminarian who sacrificed his life to save children in Cambodia. Ultimate courage. But he also reminds us you don't have to die heroically to live courageously. You just have to choose the next right thing. That's the magis. To be more and do more in what truly matters. So here's my invitation this Lent. Don't just give up chocolate or social media. Those are fine. But maybe we go deeper. Maybe we rebuild our prayer life, our relationships, our integrity, our hope, one small act at a time. Maybe we ask each day, where is God asking me to be courageous today? Maybe it's 5 minutes of prayer. Maybe it's silence instead of gossip. Maybe it's one page of courage or one reflection from sacred space, and actually letting it change you. Because systems fail, nations fracture, plans collapse, ashes return to ashes. But courage rebuilds. 40 years ago, millions stood on EDSA not knowing what would happen next. They showed up anyway. And today, in our own quieter ways, we're still being asked to show up. Tayo ang people power sa kabila ng kadiliman. We are the spirit of people power, even in darkness. Not because we need to relive 1986, but because we refuse to let fear, cynicism, or hatred have the final word. And most of the time, that spirit doesn't look dramatic. It looks like choosing integrity when compromise is easier, choosing prayer when distraction is louder, choosing hope when negativity feels contagious, choosing the next right thing even when no one sees. That's quiet courage in dark times. So, Grab your copy of Courage by Ed Garcia and Sacred Space, both available at justcom.ph/Josh, and let them accompany you this Lent. And remember, we are people power, not only because of what happened 40 years ago, but because of what we choose quietly and courageously today.
Maraming salamat po mga kaibigan. I hope the words we shared resonated with you and gave you something beautiful to carry into your week. Remember, the full book, song, or resource we featured today, along with so many other inspiring materials, can be found at JustCom Exclusives Stories of Faith. And before we go, I want to remind you, in this journey of faith, hindi ka nag-iisa. We are all in this together, growing and discovering God's love in every conversation, every story, and every moment. Ito po si Father Migs Ramirez, and until we meet again, paalam at ingat mga kaibigan.